This is MTG Burgeoning, and in this video we will showcase the contents of Blue Color Support Pack number 6 of our Jumpstart Commander Cube. If you haven't been following along or are new to the channel, look in the description of this video for links to the primer video for this series, its playlist, as well as a list of the cards featured in this video. As previously showcased during the primer video for this series, these are the types of cards you can expect to see in every color support pack. Now, with the prologue coming to an end, let's start spotlighting some blue support cards, beginning with some basic lands. We've got 3 basic islands to kick things off, and to pair with those 3 basic islands, we have 3 basic snow-covered islands as well. Yes, no need to point it out. I understand that we don't have them all matching, and that is something that haunts me every night. All right, so the first 6 cards, as we have shown throughout this series, the first 6 cards of every color support pack are all basic lands. Card number 7, if you've been following along, you know that to be a thriving land. It is Thriving Isle. Here we have a land that comes into play tapped, and when it does, we choose a color. We can tap this land for 1. We choose a color other than blue, of course. And when we do, we can tap this. Not when we do. When we do, we put the color indicator on this card, and then we can tap that land for 1 blue mana or 1 mana of the chosen color. Next up, we have our utility land of the non-basic variety, and in color support pack number 6 of the blue variety, we have Lonely Sandbar. It comes into play tapped, it taps for a blue mana, or we can pay a blue mana to cycle this from our hand by discarding it in order to draw a card. Our next card is our MDFC, which is our modal double face card. It's spell on the front and land on the back. And here with number 6, it is Sink into Stupor, an instant for 1 and 2 blue mana. We may return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Very, very powerful, particularly and affordable because it's only 1 and 2 blue mana. If we so choose to not hold on to this for its disruptive capabilities, then we can always play for its backside, which is a land called Soporific Springs. When it enters the battlefield, we may pay 3 life, and if we don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. It taps to add 1 blue mana to our mana pool. Either way, we can get a land right away by spending less than 10% of our starting life total, or we hang on to this instant for its disruptive capabilities. Sink into Stupor may be the best MDFC card in all of the color support packs. All right, next up we have our Planeswalker card, and in blue color support pack number 6, that Planeswalker is Kasmina, Enigmatic Mentor. For 3 and 1 blue mana, she ETBs with 5 loyalty counters. She has a static ability that reads spells our opponents cast that target a creature or planeswalker we control cost 2 more to cast. That just means that creatures and planeswalkers we control have Ward 2. Inordinately powerful, and this is an uncommon planeswalker. Boy, oh boy, even Kasmina herself has that ward ability. It grants it to herself because it does not say other planeswalkers. It just says whenever our spells our opponents cast that target a creature or a planeswalker we control, it's going to cast 2 generic mana more to cast. Now, granted, that doesn't do anything for the abilities, so it's not technically Ward 2, but it's close enough in our books. We can we can take 2 loyalty counters off of Kasmina to create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token, and then we loot by drawing a card and discarding a card. A great layer of global protection Kasmina gives us, and the ability to create some bodies on our side of the battlefield and to loot some cards. Our next card is our creature modifier, so it's either an aura or an equipment, and here in blue color support pack number 6, it's going to be an aura in the form of Hypnotic Siren. Here we have an enchantment creature with the Bestow mechanic, so we can cast this as a creature for 1 blue mana. It's a 1/1 with flying. That is all. However, if we decide to cast this for its Bestow cost, then we pay 5 and 2 blue mana. We enchant a creature with this card, with this aura, and we control Enchanted Creature. Enchanted Creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. If we we so choose to bestow this card onto a creature, and then the creature inevitably dies or leaves the battlefield, Hypnotic Siren will fall off of that creature as an aura and become Hypnotic Siren the creature, a 1/1 flyer. 7 mana, that's pricey, particularly when we're investing that in an aura that could potentially get 2 for 1 without it even enchanting the creature we're trying to gank for the game. So it's going to be up to the board state. Do we have anything backing up our hand? Maybe we have enough mana to bestow this in the mid to late game, and we're holding Sink into Stupor in our hand too. That is a possibility. I don't know, but either way, we're either getting a 1/1 Sprite if we choose to not bestow it, or we're going to gain control of an enchanted creature, buff its power and toughness by 1 each, and give it some evasion. Our next card is our Color Strength spell, and since we're talking blue, we're talking card advantage, and few do it better in blue than Serum Visions. For 1 blue mana at sorcery speed, we draw a card, and then we scry 2. By scrying 2, we look at the top 2 cards of our library. We may put them back in any order, or we may put any number of them on the bottom of our library in any order. Either way, we're putting a card in our hand, and we're potentially setting up our next 2 cards that we draw, and hopefully they both be good ones. All right, we're going to move to our spot removal and disruption spells next. And we have Reality Shift as our first card of that type. At instant speed for 1 and 1 blue mana, we simply exile target creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library, which means that player puts the top card of their library face down in front of them as a 2/2 creature, and if it's a creature card, it can be turned face up at any time for its mana value. Unbelievable that blue can just do this for just 2 blue mana. That is just ridiculous. Reality Shift, a very, very powerful removal spell. Are we worried about the 2/2 creature? Not at all. Are we worried about what the 2/2 creature could become? Possibly. Possibly we're worried about that. But to get rid of a threat that's much more menacing, yeah, we'll take that exchange every day of the week and twice during Friday Night Magic. All right, spot removal / disruption spell number 2 in these blue color support packs comes in the form of some counter magic. And here in blue color support pack number 6, that card is Mystical Dispute. For 2 and 1 blue mana, we counter target spell unless its controller pays 3 generic mana. However, this spell costs 2 generic mana less to cast if it targets a blue spell. So let's just say we cast something, and then our opponent decides to counterspell that. Well, we could pay 1 blue mana, getting rid of the 2 generic, because this is going to target their blue counterspell, and then we're going to counter that spell as long as our opponent doesn't pay 3 generic mana. Mystical Dispute could be a lot more powerful than the mana value indicates. All right, shifting away from spot removal and disruption to mass removal and disruption, we have an instant Ether Sprouts. For 3 and 2 blue mana, for each attacking creature, its owner puts it on top or bottom of their owner's library. Whoa, baby, how do you like that card? So clearly, we're waiting to bait one of our opponents to attack us with everything they've got, and then we cast Ether Sprouts and say, no, those creatures go bye-bye. Or, if we really want to be mean, we let one opponent swing out at all of our opponents, or maybe one of our opponents that they're going to knock out. Either way, we're looking at, in this scenario, at opponent versus opponents or opponent combat. We allow the combat to happen. We allow all the blocks to happen. We allow all of the combat damage to be dealt to creatures and opponents. But after that is over, before combat is over, while those creatures are still technically attacking, we cast Ether Sprouts and we return all of the attacking creatures that are left on that opponent's side of the battlefield to their hand because combat is still going on. They're still considered attacking. This is going to be cast after combat damage is dealt, but before the end of combat during the cleanup step. We want to make sure that we do the timing just right so we can get the biggest bang out of Ether Sprouts for our mana investing bucks. All right, our last mass removal / disruption spell of this color support pack. It's a sorcery. It is Ether Gale. For 3 and 2 blue mana, we return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Look at the rate of investment on the mana here. It's less than 1 mana to return 1 target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. And also note, if needed, we could return some of those non-land permanents from our side of the battlefield to our hand as well. Perhaps we have some cards that benefit from leaving the battlefield or entering the battlefield. Well, we jam 5 mana into Ether Gale, maybe pick off a couple of threats on our opponent's sides of the battlefield, and then maybe pick 1 or 2 of our own to return to our hand so that we can reap those leave the battlefield and or enter the battlefield triggers just like that. All right, our next card is our hate or defense card of the color support pack. And here in blue color support pack number 6, that card is Gadwick the Wizened. It's a 3/3 legendary human wizard for X and 3 blue mana. When Gadwick enters the battlefield, we draw X cards. Whenever we cast a blue spell, we tap target non-land permanents on opponent controls. So we have to cast some spells in order to hate on our opponents by tapping their stuff down, and those spells have to be blue. Hopefully, with all of the cards we'll draw by jamming as much mana into X as we possibly can, we'll have some blue spells to cast in order to trigger Gadwick's tapping ability. Our next card is our Resource Advancement card. That's going to be cards in hand, mana acceleration, maybe some kind of battlefield enhancement, and that comes in the form of Storm Surge Kraken, a 5/5 Kraken for 3 and 2 blue mana with hexproof. It has the Lieutenant mechanic, which means that as long as we control our commander, Storm Surge Kraken gets +2/+2 and has, whenever Storm Surge Kraken becomes blocked, we may draw 2 cards. So if our commander is on our side of the battlefield along with Storm Surge Kraken suddenly is a 7/7 with hexproof that we will certainly send into combat, hoping that our opponents chump block it, because do they want to take 7 points of combat damage, or do they want to just block it? Do they just want to chump block it and allow us to draw 2 cards? That will be something that our opponents will have to figure out. And either way, we either benefit by watching our opponent's life totals precipitously tick down to 0, or we fill our hand with some cards. Our next card is our Combat Enhancement card, and if you've been following along with the blue support packs, you know that this slot is dedicated to things that come into play as copies of other things. And in blue color support pack 6, that card is going to be the Naga Fleshcrafter. This snake shapeshifter has a mana value of 3 and 1 blue mana, and we may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. Note that this is not targeting the creature that it becomes a copy of, so if that creature has Shroud, Ward, Hexproof, or any other form of protection, Naga Fleshcrafter can target it because it's not actually targeting it. Very, very nice. And also note that this becomes a copy of any creature on the battlefield, not just a creature that we control and not just a creature our opponents control. We choose any creature we want, and Fleshcrafter will come into play as a copy of that creature. And through its renew mechanic, we can pay 2 and a blue mana and exile this card from our graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on target non-legendary creature we control. And each other creature we control becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. So even in death, as Naga Fleshcrafter is rotting in our graveyard, we can renew it, throw a +1/+1 counter on a non-legendary creature we control, and then make each creature we control become a copy of that creature until end of turn. Note that we can only renew as a sorcery, but that ability should not be overlooked, because depending on the makeup of our overall Jumpstart Commander build, we could consider that ability to be a potential game-winning ability. All right, MTG BC, we have come down to the last card of our blue color support packs. And if you've been following along at home, you know that our iconic creature type in blue is Sphinx. And in blue color support pack number 6, that Sphinx is Wind Reader Sphinx, a 3/7 flyer for 5 and 2 blue mana. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, we may draw a card. Study the text on that, folks. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, it doesn't have to be a creature we control with flying, and it doesn't have to be a creature an opponent controls with flying. Any creature with flying that attacks is going to allow us to draw a card. And also note, it does not say whenever one or more creatures with flying attacks, we may draw a card. If 3 creatures with flying attack, we draw 3 cards. Yes, it says may draw a card, but I'm pretty sure we're going to want to draw those cards. With a 3/7 body, with flying, we can safely send Wind Reader Sphinx into combat without fear of it dying, and even that, we get to draw a card for doing so. All right, there you have it, MTG BC. We have showcased the contents of Blue Color Support Pack number 6, which will bring the Blue Color Support Packs to an end at this time. Let me know your thoughts about these cards in the comments section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, a channel for all things Magic.